Association from Nasarawa State.
Mr. Chairman, Deputy Chairman, honorable colleagues, and our guest.
Mr. Chairman.
Capital and personnel releases for 2022. It also contains the budget 2023 proposals. And in the 2023 proposals, we have the details of the capital appropriation, the details of the overhead appropriation, and the details for the personnel cost. So, if we go to page 3, in summary form, in the 2022 budget, we had the capital expenditure of 197 billion 701 million 308,630. We have the overhead expenditure as 615 million 73,952 naira. In the personnel cost, and that's why I opened this page, there's a correction, is not 853, sir. I will read the correct page 3. Page 2, sorry, page 2. The corrected figure is 8 billion 535 naira 535 million 245,930 naira. That is the personnel cost for the commission. The total provision for the 2022 budget is 199 billion 169 million 907,175 naira. The details are going through page 3, page 4, page 5, and in page 6, honorable members, we have a summary of the capital expenditure up to date. As I mentioned, the appropriation 197 billion 701,308,630 naira. The releases up to date now is 115 billion 850 million 654,315 naira. The expenditure so far 46 billion 961 million.
Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Chairman, please, point of order. Go ahead. Okay, my name is Honorable Ifeanyi Chudimoma. I speak for Ihiala Federal Constituency. Please, Mr. Chairman, I would like to. Yes, that's what I just did. That I'm Ifeanyi Chudimoma. Ihiala Federal Constituency, Anambra State. Please, Mr. Chairman, I want to find out if there are still copies of his presentation, because I've asked from the Secretariat and they don't seem to have copies of his presentation. So I would like to have copies of it.
Thank you, sir. The expenditure I've already mentioned. The balance to date 68 billion 889 million 611,017.49 kobo. Percentage of releases to date 58.6%, and percentage of performance based on the release 40.54%. So details are coming page 7, 8. Page 7 and 8. I will go through the summary of overhead on page 8. Page 9, my glasses. Page 9, sir. Appropriation for 2022 overhead expenditure 615 million 73,951 naira. Releases to date 307 million 596,960 naira 51 kobo. Expenditure to date 252 million 879,037 naira 88 kobo. Balance to date 54 million 657,922.63 kobo. Percentage releases 50%, percentage performance based on releases 83%. So the details are following in page 10. Page 11, we have summary on personnel expenditure performance on 2022 budget. Appropriation, Director, this is not the same with what I've just corrected. Appropriation 7,853,524,593 naira. Releases to date 5,907,041,426 naira 54 kobo. Expenditure 5,905,041,426 naira 54 kobo. Balance 1,948,483 naira 166.46 kobo. Percentage of releases to date 75%. Percentage of performance based on fund releases 100%. The next on page 12 is the presentation for the 2023 appropriation. Okay, sir.
Well, the truth is, Mr. Chairman, I've looked at the expenditure pattern for the releases. Of course, apart from the 5-point-something billion that is for personnel costs. So, Mr. Chairman, I think we need more detailed expenditure pattern for such humongous releases that have been given to an agency like this, because we're in a precarious situation whereby we know that we're preparing for census. So I think we can't even deliberate on the 2023 budget, because as far as I'm concerned, from what I'm seeing here, the releases and the allocation to the subjects, to the line items, Mr. Chairman, I mean, it's nothing to write home about. That is the truth. And secondly, I'm also very anxious about a program that was done some months back at the Villa. So I would like the agency to tell us how much was expended on that presidential retreat that was done at the Villa. I think it was a presidential retreat to summit, a presidential summit, a one-day presidential summit, right? It was a one-day presidential summit. Exactly. So, Mr. Chairman, I would like this agency to tell us how much was expended on that one-day presidential summit, which actually held in the Villa. I remember vividly it held in the Villa. Yes, and in fact, Mr. Chairman, I know that even members of these hallowed chambers were not properly represented at that occasion for us to actually do the proper oversight on the spot vis-a-vis the project implementation plan, which was discussed at the presidential at the Villa event. So, Mr. Chairman, that's my second question. We would like to know how much was budgeted, or rather allocated for that event, how much was expended. That is two. And finally, Mr. Chairman, the mock census, which had been conducted nationwide, Mr. Chairman, the budget for such mock census was tagged at 5,192,000,000. And I can tell you, I don't know about other states, but in my state, the coordinators and the people, I'm from Anambra State, the people that coordinated it, they complained for lack of funds. In fact, they reached out to stakeholders like myself and other people to raise funds for the mock process. And I'm sure that that must have been replicated in other states. So, Mr. Chairman, we'd also like to have a detailed expenditure pattern on how that 5,192,000,000 was expended on the mock census. So, Mr. Chairman, those are the three questions that I need full clarity before we can delve into 2023 budget estimates. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman, did you understand what he said? Yes. The third one is the issue of the mock census.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Report as at 31st of October 2022, which is on page 3. The first item there is the National Population Data Bank, Nigeria Population Database Management System, for which you have an allocation to date of 114 million naira plus. You have spent 45 million naira on that. And then just immediately after that, I see an item that appears to be exactly the same, which is item 2. Appears to be exactly the same. If this document I have with me is the same that you have, which has to do with hosting of population website and web portal. Essentially, it's an expenditure you're doing on hosting your web portal and website. So on that, you have expended 118 million. So 45 on the first item, 118 on the second. That looks to me like a duplication of item, and I wouldn't know what could have resulted into that. On that same page, you have on item 9 your field demarcation in 774 local government areas, which is 567 million naira, a little over $500 million naira on the field demarcation. And like my colleague said, I remember that when the demarcation held in most of our federal constituencies, we were tasked, to contribute money to do one thing or the other, and yet you have spent over $500 million naira on that. Mr. Chairman, similarly, when the chairman was reading his presentation, and he came to the item on page 11, which has to do with the releases on your expenditure performance for releases on personnel. I wouldn't know whether it was a slip of tongue or you mentioned 5,907,000,000, but the document here with me says 5,905,000,000. I wouldn't know which one we should go with. Should we correct this to reflect what you read out, or we should retain this and assume that it was a slip of tongue? Mr. Chairman, those are my observations. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Last year, during the budget defense, we were told that there's a prudential intervention for the census, for the demarcation. But when you are presenting your performance for the 2022, you didn't indicate anything. Have you received that money, which is about, is it 10 billion naira or something like that? If you have received, can you furnish this committee with the details of the expenditure? Last one is on page 4, where you said amendment of National Population Commission Act. Page 4. Item 15. Page 4. Item 15. Where there's a process of amending the act establishing the National Population Commission, where the sum of 47.5 million naira was released and almost expended. Can you tell us what have you done to warrant this expenditure? Thank you, Chairman.
I'll be brief with my own question. 23 million with some change was allocated, and then 23 million was expended. So I just want you to elucidate a little bit, because these are taxpayers' money, and then any line of business that carry welfare, we really want to know
what kind of welfare, and then who are the receivers of this welfare package, so that people can know that the topic is not just to spend the money. Thank you.
Touch part of it and also through the memo. I wanted to find out this amount that has been released, as of when was the amount released?
Can you ask that question again?
Yes, the amount released. We have here 115 billion 850 released.
Chairman, you
As-
understand what he's saying, Chairman?
Yes, yes,
You understand his
yes.
question?
He wants to know when the money was released.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Chairman, go ahead and answer.
Chairman, thank you very much.
The number of questions that was asked.
Yes, I have taken notes, and I will do my best. It's very nice to be on your side, but I'm on this side now, and we thank God Almighty. The first question, honorable member who asked about the summit and the mock census and the expenditure. Yes. There is a report that the Honorable Committee requested. We are to submit details of expenditure and the activity of the summit. We did submit this document on Monday. Where is the copy? The Secretary will have sent enough copies to the Secretariat. So I think we should go through that report to answer the summit. Yes, sir. Now no, whether I can have a copy also.
We have not received any from the committee. Nothing came from your committee to us regarding that report.
They can bring it before we finish the other questions so that it can be circulated. It is already with the committee.
Okay, Chairman, thank you very much. Even if you have documentary evidence detailing the expenditure and the events and all that, I mean, as someone who is in charge of the agency, you ought to know the basics on the spot assessment when you are asked, okay, what and what happened there. So what I expected, Mr. Chairman, is for him to throw more light, throw little light, and say, okay, we did this and this and that, but we have further documents to show proof what was done. You can't just completely refer to the document without at least saying something. So, Mr. Chairman, I insist that he should tell this committee, this honorable committee, give us an oral brief of how the over 1 billion was used in expending for the event at the villa. At least let him give us a brief on that particular question before we now go into the other questions. Thank you.
That question. Please tell us how 1 billion was expended. Over 1 billion was the expenditure for just one day program. Can you tell us how you spend that money? Thank you.
Okay, sir. Let me allow the professional to explain the objectives and how the summit was organized. My understanding is, apart from the function in the villa, this summit was also done in all the states of the Federation. All states. All states. It took place. It took place.
Because in your budget here, you have a stakeholders conference budget.
Yes, it's the same. That's why.
Which is separate from the budgetary expenditure on that one-day seminar. From the records that we have here. So it's for you to clarify.
No, yes, sir. I said.
Chairman, if you cannot answer, get somebody who knows about it. Let him answer that question.
The Director of Census.
Can you give us an answer to that?
Okay. Honorable Chairman, to bring before Nigerians the Census 2023 instrument, because and by the instrument we mean the questions we'll be canvassing in the census, the nature of data we want to generate. This conference becomes very important because we got to make census need-driven and to meet the development need of the country. Therefore, we've got to have a wide range of opinions to buy into the questions we are asking to see if they can actually answer the needs of Nigeria. And we needed to do this at the national level, and it was stepped down to the state level. The 1.9 billion was for the total for the entire program. And the national was 129,520 million. And the national stakeholder is very necessary because we've got to start from the top. And you will agree with us that with the president doing it himself that day, really added a lot of color and confirmation to our activity.
Thank you very much, Director, for what you've said, which is not the fact in issue right now. So, for clarification purposes, just hold on, just hold on, ma'am. For clarification purposes, let me repeat the question again. I'm not asking for the objectives of the event on that day or across the state. What I'm concerned about is the monetary aspect that was expended on the event itself. And I must appreciate you for the figure because you, in the course of your statement, you gave us the proper figure, which is 1.9 billion naira for 1.9 billion for the Villa event, one-day.
I said it's a national and state event.
No, but you mentioned 1.9 billion.
No, 129 million 520. The Villa event was only 129 million.
Oh, okay. Okay, so the over 1.2 billion was spent for the Villa program and the program that ran separately at the 36 states, right? Exactly. Which is different from the stakeholder conference that is enlisted in this budget, right? Yes. Are you sure of what you're saying, please? No, I just...
Sorry, it's the same program, it's the same stakeholder, sorry.
Okay, so the same stakeholder conference captured in your capital expenditure pattern for the 36 states. That is the same stakeholder conference that was also under the expenditure of the over 1.2 billion.
Actually, when the one under the capital expenditure was presented, it was supposed to be a one activity. But it was at the cost of the commission deliberating on how to really make it to make the people own it. In their wisdom, they decided that we should do it in the entire state of the federation.
Thank you. I understand what you're saying, but
yes.
Mr. Chairman, honorable colleagues, from what she has explained to this honorable committee, she said that the stakeholder conference that were held in the various states were captured in this budget. That's what she said. Meanwhile, the previous speaker said that the over 1.2 billion expended on the Aso Rock event also covered the ones done at the various states, which is different from what the Director of Census have told this committee. So how do we harmonize those information?
No, it's the same thing.
No, because if it's the same thing, why is it now captured in your capital expenditure when the 1.2 billion is not captured here? So why is a part of the event captured here?
Chairman, Mr. Fagbemi here, clarity. Let us understand where this is coming from. Check and let us know, because you are supposed to be one of the directors of finance. Am I right or wrong?
Chair. So that whatever you are saying, we'll be able to lay claim on it if we want to prosecute or do anything, if Nigerians choose to do anything. So we don't want you to say anything and then you deny it later that you are not the one that said it. So whoever that wants to speak on this particular issue will place on hold. And so submit to the chairman.
That the statement I shall made before this committee,
the evidence are produced,
that the evidence that I'm going to produce
before this committee
shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Okay, thank you very much, honorable colleagues, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for this opportunity once again. Okay, I'm going to repeat my question, Mr. Fabuni. I have 3 questions that I asked earlier, but the fact and issue right now is one question, which has to do with the, how did you address it in the presidential summit? The presidential summit, which was held at the expense of over 1.2 billion. So my question is this. The presidential summit that was held at the villa, which the commission expended over 1.2 billion naira. My question is this. The 1.2 billion expended for that summit, is it only for the villa event, or is it the villa event and also stakeholders conferences that were held at the various 36 states of the country? Did that amount encapsulate everything, or is it only for that villa event in isolation from all these other ones that I mentioned? Is it only for that? So that's my question. I want clarification on that, please.
Okay, sir. The one for the presidential villa was 129,250,000.
Not 1.2 billion. Is it 129 million? What are you saying?
126,520,000. That is the one in FCT Abuja with the president. But the remaining 1.2 billion is for 36 states and FCT. It's 2 things. The first one, 129 for Abuja. The 1.2 billion, 36 states plus FCT.
Okay, what you're saying is the over 1.2 billion expended for the stakeholders conference, yes. Only 126 million was for the villa event. 129, yes.
129,520.
Okay.
For the villa event.
Okay, good. Okay, so out of the 1.9 billion expended, no. For the stakeholders event, the budget of it was 1 point what, please?
100.
No, I'm not talking about the villa. The total sum.
The total is that 129 plus 1.2 billion.
Okay.
That is the total.
The total sum. Okay. Mr. Chairman.
This sum of 1.2 billion, where is it captured in this report? In this report before us.
Okay,
because you are doing a review of 222, where is it captured?
Let me explain, sir.
Let me relate it to stakeholders conference that you use 665 million for. Is it the same with the 1.2 billion, or is it a different?
Yes, sir. Let me explain, sir. If you see the first item on this paper that the Honorable is National Population Commission 2023 Housing Census. Under that figure, under that vote, where we have 194 billion, that vote is a form of a pool for all other activities.
Sorry, you're saying something.
I'm going to
just answer what he's asking is, since the 1.2 billion, hold on please, since the 1.2 billion covers the stakeholders conference for the various states.
Yes.
So the one captured in this budget that you brought for 2022,
yes,
that shows 660 something million, is it part of this 1.2 billion, or
yes,
is it different?
That is what I'm going there. I'm telling you that item number 5 is not up to 1 billion. Where we source the other money is the item number 1, which is National Population Census 2023 Census, which is a pool of all other activities. But before, so if you see that item on number 5, what was released there is 332. It's 332 million, and we need more than 1 billion So from the item number 1 that was raised here, which is National Population and Housing Census 23, is a pool where all the other activities are. Is the correction? That is the correction I'm making.
Correction.
Excuse me. You've given us a document here that states this, and you're not correcting it on your own there.
No, the chairman has mentioned it the other time.
Mentioned it how? When?
He mentioned it. He mentioned the first item.
It's quite obvious that has not been able to be justified by the Commission. I believe I'm speaking the mind of honorable members here that yes, and that of the chairman, that the 2022 budget performance is not, we cannot accept it now. We want the Commission to go back and provide more details. We cannot sit down here and be speculating over numbers and money, taxpayers' money. I hereby move that we should postpone this meeting and adjourn it, that they should go and tidy up their papers, figures, so we spend less time when they come back. I so move, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman.
I want a separate, I move that the committee, that the National Population Commission furnish this honorable committee with a separate document that explains the expenditure pattern of that presidential summit held in at the Villa and the ones held at the 36 states, and how much was expended at each level, at the state level, at the zonal level, at the local government directorate level, at every level of it, how much that was expended. And also the mock trial, a separate document that the mock census showing a document that details every expenditure pattern of the 5.2 billion spent on the mock census, detailing it state by state, so we can know the details and how much was expended at the state level. I so move for such amendment, Mr. Chairman.
Second of 100 billion naira release. We need the details.
No, let them know. Mr. Chairman, is there a further amendment? Go ahead.
Further amendment, yes. Further amendment on the motion that the National Population Commission should provide full details of presidential intervention and their utilization. I so move.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, that we're going to use when you're coming back for this project defense should be submitted maybe a day, 2 days, so that we can peruse and then hold you by what you submitted. It's not that you come back the next sitting and then we're having an argument by the word. And on these notes, I hereby seconded all the amendment. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, we have decided that you should go and come back with proper documentation for the committee. As far as we're concerned, my colleagues are not satisfied with what is being submitted this morning. So we suggest that we'll give you a minimum of 2 weeks, or is it too long? Stop. Today is Wednesday. By next week, Wednesday, we'll reconvene again at the same time. I think next week, Wednesday. Yes, you can.
To the state summit.
Yes.
Some of the states have not concluded their summit.
Chairman, sir, please.
Yes, sir.
The committee has already explained itself, and we expect to hear from you next week, Wednesday at 11 a.m.
Okay,
that's fine now.
We'll be here.
Thank you.
As the chair, please.
Camera, go.